From Wakefield, it's the Ice Team Meme Show starring NoLdAwG, inviting you to join NoLdAwG and his guest this week, Lauren Boynton, to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's NoLdAwG! And welcome back for another one, my friends. And yeah, I guess for fans and fellow Ice Team memeists and enthusiasts, with Zoom saying it's recording with the green light on and the recording thing saying it's working. That means none other than we're back again for another edition of the Ice Team Meme Show. I'm squinting my eyes looking on pirate. Arg me our days. We back for another edition of the Ice Team Meme Show. No, but we're back for another edition, episode number 7. I keep getting it mixed up because a few weeks ago I recorded 2 just in case one didn't work. And anyways, we're here for episode number 7. We got digressed. We have I cut that out. It's a great episode filled with great stories, laughs, and good times just in general. I want to thank everyone who's been here since the beginning, who's joined us along the way, who doesn't know about this and this is the first time, or they've been watching every single one, or here and there. It means a lot to me, more than words can express, if you're coming back each week to watch us or coming back for the first time. I really appreciate that. I want to thank you all for taking interest and time out of your busy days and weeks to tune into this and think that it's interesting enough to put some time to the side to view this. Whether you're new though or you're returning, and viewers or listeners, if you liked what you watched today or what you're watching today, do us all a favor here at ITM Studios, which is really only me because I'm the one running the entire operation. Do us a favor, and whatever platform it is, audio or visual, smash that like button, whatever it may be, or heart button. Click that subscribe or follow button. That tells us that you enjoyed this and you want to join the family. I don't know why I was saying stay with us. Also, click that bell notification button. So then once you are subscribed, it will then let you know and notify you that, hey, new content on the audio or visual platforms, I should say. There's new stuff, whether it be a podcast episode or some other random video announcement. And yeah, that'll be great. Then you can tune in. And the final step, regardless of whatever platform you're listening or streaming this off of, it has this, and it's that share button. Click that share button, because then what that tells me, if that be the case, if I find out about it, that means that not just only yourself found interest and enjoyment into this podcast or episode, whatever it may be in the case, but you care so much about that you want to share with anyone else and everyone else that you know of, so they can tune to something that you feel as though they might enjoy as well. And that right there means a lot, and I just want to thank you, because that's how this show gets big. And I was talking to someone the other night about it at this tennis party I was at, and they're saying the show it's moving slowly. And yeah, that's true, this show is moving slowly I should say, but I'm not some big time celebrity, some big time famous person that has millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars to use for equipment or recording, whatever it may be. I don't have a studio, so I'm a regular Joe Schmo that's just doing this for fun and with hopes of hopefully it being big one day. And so it's slow, but you sharing it, you liking, subscribing, following, and all that other grand stuff, turning the bell notification button for the show really means a lot to me, because it really helps me out and gives me a great feeling. Anyways, and on top of that, as I'm still stuttering, and that being the case, and saying that and saying so, whatever the fucking saying may be, I want to thank those who have done that so far. And although yes, a small amount, 9 on both platforms, I believe, both visual and audio. Although 9's a small number, I want to thank you, because those 9 people felt as though they enjoyed it so much they want to continue being part of it. There's also an option, because it tells me to do that on Anchor FM, the hosting site. Now, I say this from time to time on this podcast, and I know times are tough, and people have their jobs and so on and so forth. People, family members near and dear, and close and far to your hearts, have passed away, maybe, and money may be tight. But if you feel so obliged, there's a donation option on Anchor FM where you can donate to the show to keep the lights, whatever the fuck, that ring lights on, and the microphone working, and so on and so forth, and helps continue and evolve the show and help it become improved. So hopefully one day improved. So one day, hopefully, maybe there'll be some celebrity guests on there. Build their way up. Anyways, enough of that. We got a great show for you all today. A dear friend of mine. She's also a coworker of mine. That's right, a first female coworker of mine on the show. She's the one and only, the multi-talented, the grand, holds a near and dear spot to my heart, the one and only Miss Lauren Boynton. Stay with us. Right back with the rest of the show and Lauren Boynton. Take care. And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is a segment I like to call What Happened This Past Week with NoLdAwG, where you're surely NoLdAwG goes over stuff that been in the news this past calendar week. Now, the show was scheduled to be recorded. What's this today? Whenever you see, but when this drops, it'll be Friday or Thursday. So originally it's supposed to be recording this Tuesday. Anyways, this past calendar week up until this past Tuesday. Without further ado, let us go and talk about the news. First in the IST Meme Show news cycle, it was announced by the man himself that on May 8th, 2021, Elon Musk will be hosting SNL. This is going to be about as weird and uncomfortable as when you have a bunch of friends over. Your parents feel the need to question them like the FBI the first time they walk in the door. I can relate to that. Elon Musk is as funny as the planet Earth is flat. Musk is as funny as the ease of saying his son's name. And Musk is as funny as televised award shows are fair. In some controversial news, actor legend Sir Anthony Hopkins won the Academy Award for Best Actor the other night for his performance in The Father with Chadwick Boseman. People were getting more upset about the Wakandan version of Captain America not winning an award than posting more than once a year about saving the environment. Now that happens quite a bit. In some groundbreaking news, actress Yoo Jung-yeon became the first Korean woman in Oscar history to win Best Supporting Actress. First, Kim Jong-un had to deal with Biden becoming president, not eating out his asshole like Trump did, but now he's got to deal with a woman doing something successful in his country which wasn't escaping it. Los Angeles Lakers president Jeannie Buss is catching some Georgia voting loss size heat for a recent appearance on a podcast describing her top 5 most important Lakers. On her list include LeBron James, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Jordan, the late great Kobe, and Phil Jackson. People missing from the list were the likes of Shaquille O'Neal, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. I haven't seen someone as wrong as this since Dr. Burke sat silent when the former guy said injecting bleach other than disinfectant will help COVID go away magically clear in the body. Funny how 2 women are wrong. Watch out. I can't say that anymore else. I can't go on any further else I'll be canceled. And some other sports news, the 86th annual NFL draft is taking place this Thursday as hundreds of college athletes hold their hopes up higher than a kid expecting to get the most expensive gift on his Christmas list in hopes of getting drafted this year. So many players are getting praise and expectations being set higher than the age of EDP 445's victims. And some disappointing wrestling news, recently released WWE veteran Mickie James was in the news after posting a photo to Twitter about her belongings being sent to her in a trash bag with her name written on duct tape on the bag. Countless fans, as well as executive vice presidents both Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, were disappointed. But let's be honest, are we really disappointed at this company as seeing their boss thought it was cool to say the N-word on television a few years ago? Actually, it's more than a few years ago. Anyways, and some surprising yet cring video game and sports news, it was made official on social media that Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, the first NFL player added to Fortnite. If not making the playoffs wasn't bad enough, now becoming a meme in Fortnite, I guess that's something to be amazed about. No, let's restart. If not making the playoffs wasn't bad enough, here you have one of the best players in the league acting like he's a has-been actor trying to stay relevant by upcharging on Cameo. That's a single roast right there. I mean, seriously, how pathetic can you be to both A, think becoming a skin in Fortnite is amazing or awesome, and B, charging $200 for a 40-second video when you haven't been relevant in years? Like, I don't get it. And some exciting news, late last week, President Biden reached another milestone before his 100th day in office, as the country reached 200 million vaccines given so far. This is a milestone that even Democrats, such as myself, didn't think he'd reach, let alone just 100 million vaccines. After all that good he promised with the vaccination, the next story Fox News preached about to damage Grandpa Joe was about not allowing American citizens to eat red meat as part of his quote new Green New Deal plan. More rednecks and deep southers gathered on Twitter than the Indianapolis 500 race. That's a quadruple roast right there, folks. And some pathetic and truly sad news, former athlete and reality TV star Caitlyn Jenner has announced that she will be running on the Republican ticket for governor of California as Gavin Newsom is eventually recalled. For a woman who had a sketchy driving history, I can't wait to see her driving down the main stretch if she wins, knocking over Antifa and part-time college student environmentalists out of the way. Jenner becoming governor is like Trump becoming president. It'll never... Oh, wait. Fuck, that actually did happen. Barry Bonds. Let's just say Barry Bonds has a better chance of getting to the MLB Hall of Fame than Jenner has of winning the governorship for California. Back up. And some disheartening news: the country of India recorded more than 250,000 new COVID-19 cases in 24 hours, which would set a devastating world record for the 5th day in a row. I can see the conspiracies of how Joe Biden and VP Harris somehow caused this to happen. This is about as disheartening as Trump reading about all the Republican congressmen not running for re-election in the next election cycle. Some interesting NFL news. The embarrassing Atlanta Falcons have been recently receiving trade talks in regards to star receiver Julio Jones. I guess, after you make the right decision of, quote, letting Dan Quinn go, because, let's be honest, no white NFL coach is fired. They're always let go. They took two steps back and let's restart. In some interesting NFL news, the embarrassing Atlanta Falcons have been recently receiving trade talks in regards to star receiver Julio Jones. I guess after you make, the right decision by, quote, letting Dan Quinn go, because let's be honest, no white NFL coach gets fired. It's always getting let go. They take two steps back by keeping Fivehead himself, Matt Ryan, and eventually trading away Jones. This decision is about as big of a head scratcher since the Minnesota Vikings signed Kirk Cousins to that massive contract only to make the playoffs 1 year so far since he's been here. Boom. And some interesting political news. The Supreme Court of the United States has agreed to take up a major Second Amendment case in regards to carrying guns outside the house. I guess, after, 78 mass shootings over the last 5 years, it's still not enough to prevent people who have a Marlboro Red and classic Mountain Dew addiction from having their guns at local restaurants or gas stations or churches. Boom. In some disheartening news, Brett Favre came out publicly last week after the Derek Chauvin verdict came out guilty to say that he had a hard time thinking Chauvin actually meant to kill Floyd. Man, for a guy who's considered one of the greatest of all time, all those concussions really hit him hard near the end. I don't get it. Boom. Especially after he, supported the former guy. Boom. And some funny news, Alaska Airlines has banned Alaskan State Senator Laura Reinbold for, quote, continued refusal to follow mask rules. What's funny about this whole thing is that Alaska Airlines is the only airline that flies into the capital. Reinbold is going to have to pull a Mrs. McAllister in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York when her son takes the wrong flight and there's no more flights out of Milwaukee during Christmas. Boom. Talk about a speech deficiency right there. At this point, if you can't comply with rules to save lives, you're more of a lost cause to the Miami Marlins 2 weeks into the MLB season. Boom. Holy shit. That was tough getting out. And finally, in some news to round out the Ice-T meme show news cycle, Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher Madison Bumgarner achieved a no-hitter this past weekend before it was discounted since it was only in a 7-inning game instead of a regular 9-inning game. If playing for the Giants from 2015 to 2019 wasn't bad enough, Manfred has to take this treatment away from him like a teacher putting you in a group of people you don't like instead of your friends. Boom. That's what happened this past week with NoLdAwG in the news. Stay with us right back with the rest of the show and our guest for this week's program, Lauren Boynton. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ice-T Meme Show. With me is a very special person to myself. I've had the pleasure of knowing her the last few years. I've spent many summers with her working with helping the underprivileged and the privileged children of South County in the Rhode Island area. A dear person myself, I consider her a good friend, the one and only Miss Lauren Boynton. Thank you again for taking the time out of your busy COVID weekend, helping me out with this.
Glad to.
Yes. Now I'm gonna cut all the bullshit fed out of the way. I know we recently just had the time to work together a week or so ago at the illustrious and wonderful Neighborhood Guild of the South Kingstown Parks and Rec Department of Southern Rhode Island. But I know the viewers out there, the very few viewers who tuned in the last few weeks are super curious on what's been going on in your life during this pandemic.
Yeah.
No, that's usually that's my first question. What's been going on in the life of Miss Lauren during this pandemic?
So I am a junior at SK, and I am doing my senior project this year, so I can go to URI my senior year. I got my license in the past year, so I've been driving around, hanging out with friends, working with my wonderful coworkers, the guild.
But no, that's it. How is there been any changes that you've made since we started this pandemic journey from now until before it started in March of last year?
Any changes?
Like anything that's different?
I'm home a lot more. So
Yeah.
I feel like I have more time to myself, which is kind of nice.
And I have a funny feeling you often like your time to yourself, if my memory is not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I like nap time. One of my
Yes.
favorites. I took a nap right before this actually.
Yes. Now you have all your energy. So I thank you. Thank you again. I remember distinctly. I forget when. I think it was over the summer. Most often, other coworkers of ourselves, when we would sit down for our end of the day or end of the week chit chat, and others would be talking about when they're getting hammered for the night, and others their 16-hour shifts, and others hanging out with friends even though they didn't want to, but they're too much of a wuss to say
Yeah.
no about it. And then I'd say, oh, I got nothing, boringness, and you'd be all geared up, happy and excited to go back home to take a nap.
Oh yes. Well, kids are tiring. Kind of
Yes,
take
they
a
are.
nap, recharge.
Yes, it is. Although I've been doing it for a while, whenever it's always weird because whenever I do the summer, it's not as tiring for myself per se. But when I do the vacation camp, the rare vacation camp, I like this past few weeks ago, I tend to get tired. So I didn't take a nap, but I did conk out for a wee bit almost once. But now that's something we'll discuss in a little bit. I'm curious, and I forget, was there anyone from from SK, the high school at least I should say, that was on? I don't think so, but so it'll be interesting to get your perspective because I had a friend on a few weeks ago that is in Massachusetts. But I'm curious about what your take is on how SHS has dealt with the entire pandemic.
I think they're doing a really good job, like having testing available to students and stuff. But I think they could have organized our schedule a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's kind of funky. It's kind of all over the place. Right now, we're switching every 2 weeks, so it just feels really fast.
Yeah.
But I think they're doing pretty well. I mean, our cases haven't been like crazy high. We haven't had to close at all, so that's pretty good.
Well, that's good. I know that they don't stock up on toiletries and other stuff for the bathrooms, which is always entertaining when that certain situation comes up and you gotta go and it's on a quick trip to the bathroom.
Oh yes.
Now I know you just mentioned, but obviously I knew it before this because it's not like we're just meeting for the first time. That senior project and going to URI next year for your senior year. Now, and I don't know what your what's academic life is like in the sense with the following year, but for the process of going to URI for your senior year, I mean obviously it's a different year, but what was that like to do during this pandemic?
It was kind of hard. I mean, with like distance learning and everything online, especially with our schedule like all funky, we only had like half of our classes. So I was expected to do like a lot of my senior project work like outside of school because I just didn't have the class. Now, and then like for like the field work, like I couldn't shadow as much as I wanted to because of like COVID restrictions because I went to a medical office.
Yeah. Does now the project is based off of just something you choose that has nothing to do with per se going to, it does have any connection with going to URI next year for your senior year, or is it just two separate things?
No, it's two separate things, but I have to do it my junior year. So I can take all of my classes at URI and I don't have to go back to SK next year.
Yeah, that's a plus, getting out there as fast as you can.
Oh yes.
I am interested to an extent of this in the sense that you are one of the handful of cheerleaders at SKHS, and it's definitely, like I said, and I'm continuing to say, it's been an interesting year, and I'm sure it's not easy doing it during a pandemic, and the football season almost didn't happen this year. It was pushed to the spring or whatever the fuck when it was. What's that been like? Because obviously it wasn't like that before when you first started on the team.
Right. So we had tryouts like much later than usual. We had it during the school year instead of like in the summer.
Yeah.
So we had to like learn our cheers more quickly, but then we ended up not having a season. So we stopped practicing for a while, had to come back, and then we weren't allowed to stunt for a little bit. But when we were finally able to, we had to like stay with the same group. Like you couldn't switch it all because of like contact or whatever.
Yeah.
But we had a pretty good season. I mean, we won a few games. As a cheer team, we got a lot better. Our football team was kind of rough. We're pretty good.
And I was but what was it like hearing the news that the season was going to happen in the spring?
It was really exciting because we have a lot of seniors, so we did this past year. Like, it was nice for them to have at least a few games before they left.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely, and you forget stuff like that it affects everything, not just the main sports, but at least it got there. I'm sure it definitely was really a great feeling having to zoom through trying to learn everything on the last minute for this, now that the season was started so late. But hopefully by the fall, more people will get vaccinated. We can take off our mask, although it might be that way with these new guidelines with 100% availability for stuff. What was I gonna say next? Obviously not yesterday, but within the last, since we last saw each other, got your vaccination, your COVID vaccination, one of two. Yeah, one of two. I'm guessing the whatever it was. But what was that experience like as someone who's in high school? I'm curious what your whole take on it was.
Look, it was on a Saturday morning, so I woke up and I drove up. It was fine. I walked in, it was just kind of funky. Like, it's such a weird thing. Like, when you go and get a vaccine, it's usually just like doctor's office, like it's very quick, but like it was all spread out. It was like a whole thing. There was a big setup, like a bunch of people. Just kind of funky. And then like waiting after, I was like, am I gonna have a reaction? I was like, why are they making me wait?
Yeah, no, but it definitely was weird. I believe you got the same place I did up in Cranston, where it was definitely, I was saying this to my mother and my sisters that, although, sure, I'm not, someone who's contagious or, deathly sick and has bad antibodies or whatever the hell it is where I can get sick easily. So although it's open to everyone, and that, it's the mission of the whole thing, it's definitely weird, that, you're getting this thing that's affecting the country so large and that you're playing a part in thinning out the curve of what's happening. But no, it was weird because I walked in, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be great. I'm going to be like all the other celebrities who, record them or get their kids to record themselves to get the vaccine. And then I walk in and I hear, no videos, none of this, none of that. You can't do that. And they were like, oh, we're going to drag you out. That happened. So it was definitely weird, but no, it was, it was quick and easy, which still just boggles my fucking mind that there's still people across the country and millions that have an issue with this whole thing and seem to rebel against us and getting it. Because when I took it, now I don't know about you, but when I got it, obviously they put in my less dominant arm, and I got it and I didn't even feel it, and I was, what's going on here? I felt it was like when you're in elementary school and you pretend to stab yourself with a mechanical pencil. It was interesting. I was like, let's get this shit done. Let's get this shit going. And we did. And then I got all jumbled up, as I always do at the end, or filling out my new appointment. But no, it was definitely good. I'm glad that I did that. And, I felt no real pain. I mean, besides my arm. Sorry, did you have any reactions to the vaccination?
I didn't have any like big reactions. My arm was kind of sore and I took a nap, but I mean, that's kind of normal. So I don't know if it was from the vaccine or not.
No, they tell you to, stay calm and relax and stuff like that and not move around. I mean, it's definitely scary, and it was definitely gave me worried because you see cases all the time online of people who have had bad reactions where their skin peels up and it gets disgusting, or they go to the hospital and you're like, oh, hopefully this doesn't happen to me. And, who knows, but I'm glad that this entire pandemic, I haven't had any issues with the COVID. I haven't got it because that definitely would have really curved my my plans in life and everything going on. I wouldn't want to miss any time with work because if I wasn't there, the ship would have been been sinking.
Oh yeah, it would have been a mess.
It would have been great. Ryan would have had to step up, and that would have been his dream, since he's been wanting to do it the last few years. And our other dear friend would have been floundering around, not having to be saved by myself again, and it would have been rough. I actually on that topic, I have our dear friend's thermos, because our dear friend left it at the guild, and was scooting out there to go do her life stuff, and I'm not gonna see her till the summer, so my room's gonna be smelling like whatever the heck she had in there, some dish. But it's unfortunate, but no, I'm interested to see what this country goes forward and how many people screw this up for us now that all these restrictions are. When did you hear about the new guidelines opening
like
up the country?
Like mask, like end of May-ish, that one?
Yeah.
I heard about it like a few days ago, and like thinking about it, I don't know, it just feels kind of weird. Like we've
Yeah.
been wearing masks and like doing all of these things for so
Oh
long.
yeah.
But like going back to normal, it might feel funky.
Yeah, and I think
Don't know what
that
to expect.
yeah. No, I forget. I saw something recently where I think if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask in smaller crowds or outside and stuff. But it's still gonna feel weird even for those people doing it because you don't want to be perceived as being a Republican down south who denies it. And it's definitely which once again, I'm still obviously gonna wear my mask in town because I don't want to get into an argument with someone who's gonna get triggered. It's just weird to think eventually this will all be died down and it won't happen anymore, and then we'll go back to just normal life. But we'll see how it goes. I asked this to a handful of guests the last few weeks. Now, in your opinion, now you're more of a science person than myself, more good at science and mathematics and stuff like that. Your estimation, Miss Lauren, when do you think this all will die down? Do you think it'll be soon, or do you think we still have a little bit of time left with this thing?
I think since so many people are like hesitant to get the vaccine, which I think is weird because they were like, we need a vaccine. That's all we need. And then we got it and they're like, no, but I don't want that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think they might go up a little bit as we start to loosen the guidelines, but then I think it's going to start to die down like summer-ish, and then into the fall, I feel like it will be pretty good.
Yeah, it's hopefully because a lot of businesses need the stuff back that I've lost at all the local business because the big chains are done. But that's enough of that COVID bullshit talk. And this is the next segment where I do my videos and I play these videos. And I want to preface this extremely, as every week I play the videos that are a little out there, maybe a little blue, as they say in the comedy world. So I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm going to ask you to do is when I play them, I'm going to have you give a thumbs up if you can hear it, because the last few weeks haven't worked.
All right.
Let's
when you do this, you do like that. What do you think of my body now? Let's look. Does it make you horny? Will it? Look, do this. And I do this as well. Look, I can bump and grind. I bet you didn't know that. I can bump and grind. Pardon me.
I forget there's another video I saw this guy who was really embarrassing, but no, that's the first video. This next one I haven't played in a while, so this is the second time I've gotten a female's reaction to this video. This next guy, his name is Steve. He's a truck driver and he's famous on TikTok.
Good morning, my queens above 18. Come on, open them eyes up. I got your breakfast ready. Coffee's on. Breakfast is on. Come on. You got to go to work. There you go. You are so beautiful. I just love my queens above 18. You are gorgeous.
Reminds me of Ron.
I will see you downstairs. And you get up and get yourself together and come on down. I love you, my queen above 18.
So, like I said, his name is Steve Supner. He's of the Ohio area, resides there, and he's a truck driver. And he's become popular on TikTok with his saying, like, says, "Good morning, my kings and queens above 18." So he prefaces, like I do at the show, he prefaces that his audience and people he's shouting out are 18 and above, because if you're not, you can't be on here, and he'll delete you off he'll delete you, not just ban you, but he'll delete you off the whole app, because he has the ability to do that. He likes to do these videos, a lot of motivation, a lot of giving props to good-looking women of the world, and it's
Right.
interesting. He has merch. He created a merch line where it's tank tops and shirts and hats and beer mugs and stickers and card decals that all say "Kings and Queens above 18." It's an interesting thing. I show this to my family, and since the majority of my family is dominated by the female population, they weren't too happy about it. No. Miss Lauren, I know you are a social girl and you like having fun. Now, if you were to receive this, now it's not going to be Steve. Let's just take that. If you were to receive this video from someone or saw this on your own, with not being on this amazing show that you're on right now, the IST Meme Show, what would your reaction be?
I mean, like, I feel like that person would have good intentions, like they're trying to be nice, but it comes off a little weird, a little creepy.
Yeah.
But I mean, depending on the person, like I assume they would have good intentions and they're trying to be nice.
No, yeah. On the creep scale, 1 to 10, 10 being the creepiest, 1 not being creepy at all, where would you rate it?
Maybe like a 6.
A 6, so not
6,
that
maybe
bad,
7. Not bad.
but getting close to it. I chuckled when you said that, Mr. Ronnie. For those who are unaware of, we're working. I repeat this at the guild where we often have camp. Sometimes there's some long-time staff members, and I believe this person's been there the longest now, that our former boss, your dear pal's arch nemesis, left. This guy, Mr. Ronnie, Hazard, or whatever the heck his name is, he's been working at the guild for 40 years, and he is a janitor. And he is an interesting guy. He definitely says stuff without a filter, thinking it's funny. I would never do it. Sure, I've made jokes before, but we'll never do this to a person I barely know. I see 2 months, 3 months, 4 months out of the year, and he's a interesting guy. And you had a run-in with him, a brief run-in with him one time, and that's all I'm gonna say, because I'm not trying to be an accessory after the fact. And he's it was something that you don't like to look back on often, because it's something where like, did I just hear that? Tell me a coworker didn't say that. A man who doesn't even have an office, who rides his bike to work, is saying this to me. It's interesting, guy, but that's a whole different world. Here's another one I found. This guy's name, Julia. This guy's name is Joe. He's a contractor type handyman guy, and he was working at the gym one time. And the last clip I showed, plus this one, plus another one afterwards, are all from this podcast, Your Mom's House, with Tom Segura and Christina Brzezinski. And they play a lot of weird videos like this. And this guy, Joe, contractor, and he was working at a Plant Fitness type of place, and he saw this good-looking lady, and he's like, damn, she's amazingly attractive, like any man would do. And he pays attention so much to who she is by finding out what her name is on the sign-in sheet, goes outside, asks for her number. Like, I don't know if I want this, I don't know if I want to go out with you to dinner. I'm kind of thinking of going back with my ex. Oh no, I just do once with you, and that's fine. So she gives him her phone. He types in the number, and instead of pressing enter, he goes to the phone section where you make calls, and it clicks the call button, so it calls on his phone, so he doesn't have to save it through contacts. Now he's got it, and then he texts her this video that he recorded in his house.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's me, Joe. Just wanted to say hi, wish you a great day, tell you that meeting you yesterday and getting a look at you was probably one of the greatest moments of my life. You were so beautiful. You don't know how beautiful you are to me. I mean, just, you're gorgeous, you're precious. And but it's been sitting in my mind when you said to me you want to go back with your ex-boyfriend. Please erase him from your memory. Don't ever go back in the past. I know, because I've been there, and I understand when, you're trying to find somebody and you go on dates and nothing compares to your ex, but there is that better person out there. And Julia, I promise you, it is me. I will love you like you've never been loved before. I will cherish you. I'll make you feel like a woman, a real woman. And believe me, after you experience me, you won't even know who your ex-boyfriend is. So, open up your heart to me in your arms. Let's go full throttle. I could see me falling in love with you. I don't know, I just looked in your eyes and I just melt. Anyhow, I'm heading off to work. This is my cute little home. Everything you see behind me, I built everything. Every square inch, from crown molding to chair rail, to floors, to lighting, to plumbing, doors, windows. So this is the type of guy you're getting. I'm a very handy guy, and I'd love to build you whatever you want. You're a sweetheart. So I hope this video doesn't scare you, but that's how I feel. I just want you to know that. Okay? And I look forward going out to dinner with you. So let's make it happen. Mwah. Ciao, baby.
That's part one. He sent her that. Interesting video. I thought, as the other guests I've shown, it starts off fine with well intentions, good intentions, and then it just drops off like the deep end of the ocean, and it goes from there. Well, you think, oh, she definitely would block him off of calling or texting him forever. No, because guess what? There's a part two.
Oh my gosh.
Just want to say good morning, Julia, my flower, my precious, my soon-to-be, my everything. Have a great day, love. Mwah.
Well, so then because when I played both of these, I wasn't sure what happened. I didn't look at the interview because the people that host the podcast that I kind of copied this from interviewed the Julia lady, and she said exactly what I said. They met at the gym and whatnot, and eventually she had this video and she showed it to a friend. She's like, you can't show it to anybody. I don't want that happening. Well, she shared it to one person, and no, like anything else, spreads like wildfire, and countless other people were playing this other places. So he didn't upload this onto YouTube. It was other people, but man's definitely interesting. I give him credit. He's got large cojones to think this is normal. Me personally would never do this. Granted him to have that confidence, I would never do that. I wouldn't do that to any, if I was going to ask, if I was going to see if any of the female staff at work wanted to go to eat one night, I definitely wouldn't say that. I definitely, when I organize the Applebee's, I don't say, hey, hey, Lauren, you want to do this? And I can't wait. This is going to be awesome and all this stuff, and make it really uncomfortable. Would never do that. I don't get it. But character to them on the creepy scale, 1 to 10, Miss Lauren, where do you rate him?
I'd say maybe like a 7 because he seems really nice. Like he seems like a nice guy. He just comes off very strong.
Yes, very strong. And I think it gives some props to not just say that, to not just have 3 ceiling fans in the prior video on 1 floor, but to say he built this himself every square inch and that you'd have the best time of your life with him. Pretty ballsy to say the least, but there's that video. Now, I know you're a fan of the animal life here on this earth. This video is going to get a little graphic. So, clearly a deer getting hit by a train. I think this is in Russia or some Eastern European country, but I saw this online somewhere and I was like, well, what in the actual fuck is going on here? I usually play this, but that's that video. Here, now here's the final video, because I'm not going to play Biden here, although I'm sure you definitely have a viewpoint on him. But here's the final video. Another one I found from the podcast.
All right.
Hello, Emmy. This is the pig. Hello, Emmy. This is the pig, Norman Somerton. Wee, wee, wee. Bye-bye, Emmy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, dear. Bye-bye.
So this is Norman Pig. Yes, Norman, quote, Pig as the animal. Somerton. And he's into that role-playing, I guess, life where they reenact as someone, and I don't even know I don't know anything about that. I don't want to. This man had a life beforehand. I forget where he worked. They mentioned it on the show as well. And I think he just was into this life. He's I think in his 70s or 60s, so he's been doing it for over 50 years. Started when he was 16, and I guess no one in his family talks to him. And as you can tell on his head, there's a tattoo of the word pig with a pig snout. There's you can't see it, but on top of his chest, where the chest cavity is, there's a tattoo that says property of this lady with a lock on it. Now in recent videos, his eyebrows are shaved off and they're tattooed on there. He is a interesting man. He makes all sorts of gross poutine. I don't know if you know what poutine is. It's a French Canadian delicacy. He's a interesting man. As you can tell, he makes pig noises, but this is a interesting man. Thoughts on it? Any interesting qualities?
He's kind of weird. I mean, like, I admire how confident he is. Like, he really wants to be himself.
Yeah.
But like, forehead tattoo is a little much.
A little much. You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't just shave off your head and put a tattoo on there.
Well, not a pig nose.
Not a pig nose. Well,
No.
on his eyebrows there were pig snouts on the outside of the eyebrows at the both left side and right side, the front and end of it. And then he got those, I think, colored in with the rest of the eyebrow. But interesting man, to say the least. And he likes to drink pee and other stuff like that. I guess that's just part of his fantasy role playing or whatever it is. But he lives his life and he doesn't regret, and he doesn't change anything. So props to him. Okay, that's the end of the video section. Not as heavy, not as edgy as other ones, just to save both yourself and myself. But now we got to the third and final section, the personal section, where divulge into some personal stuff. Like we mentioned earlier in the program, we both work at a wonderful place, a place I cherish and love deeply, more than words can express. Work at a Discovery Camp. Now, I talked to Rob about it twice, and then Ryan last week about it. But I'm curious on your journey towards finding this job and what that was like, and how you found out about it.
Well, Discovery Camp was my first like real job. Like I started working there when I was 15. So it was kind of like I didn't really know what to expect. Like I haven't worked with like, oh my gosh, with like a bunch of people before.
Yeah.
But then I came in and everyone was so nice. I mean, our boss was a little harsh, a little rough, but everyone was so nice and welcoming. And I like felt like I could ask people questions if I needed to. And now I like that I like know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. I have a great time.
Oh no, yeah, it's definitely and then what was I'm curious, because I didn't ask that to anyone else. Your first, so we're going back a few years, and what was it like the first day, if you can remember, working for what was inner Lauren mentally and whatever you want to call for the heart wise, what was going on, the emotions that day? What was your perspective?
I was kind of nervous because I didn't know if the kids were going to listen to me, because I was only 15 and like that some of the oldest kids were 12.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really fun. Like I got there and Tina kind of like kicked things off and started talking to the kids, and then we were just like playing games, and I was just like joking with the kids, making little buddies that I'm still friends with now. So I had really a lot of fun. But like the first day of the summer, I feel like is always kind of stressful. There's so many new people. Yeah,
and especially like you said, you're 15, you're an underclassman in high school, and you got kids there, especially for yourself who's worked with, I mean, besides this past year, only worked with the older kids. So a few of them are only 2, 3 years, 4 years younger than you. So you although you're close in age to an extent, you still have to be careful what you say. Now, I don't know about yourself, but I've had many run-ins with letting things slip out of my mouth with certain kids that not going to be divulged here on the show. But it's definitely interesting, and I think that and I have to agree with you. And I remember my first day many years ago that that first day you're not sure what's going on. And I wasn't really into doing this job, but my mother told me to apply for it, and I applied for it and got it eventually. And the interview process is a whole nother conversation. But it's definitely interesting because you go there, great. There's no one there like any other job. I mean, if you're working in a restaurant, you got someone there helping you. Hey, this is how you cook a medium well hamburger. This is how I probably cook steak or make fries or whatever it may be, or Captain Jack's with Iggy's, Doughboys and stuff. This, you're thrown out into the deep end and you're doing this, trying to figure out how it operates. And you have other people, people around your age helping you out and doing it, but you got to come up with your own things to do for those kids to occupy themselves. And I think that as time moves on, you get the groove of it, and you get the concept of it, and be able to do it and know what it is, and you can do it with your eyes closed. And I feel as though for some people, it takes a little longer to do that. And some realize at the end of the year or halfway through, it's not for them and may not come back. Some of them can grasp, and it's like I don't know, mixing water and food coloring together. It goes together fast and easy, and they grasp the concept quick and they stay with it. Definitely going to come back. I'm going to do vacation camps and other activities and all this stuff. It's going to be great. And I think that when you come back, it shows that you enjoy it and you're enthused with it. And I think that it's unfortunate that you got to get some people can't grasp it or leave for one reason or another, and then you have to pry them back coming into it, because it's like, this is the best thing you can do as a high school or college student. You're not working in a hot fucking kitchen that's 1,000 degrees. You're not working with that. You're not working at some golf course like that. You're not, I mean, it's babysitting to an extent, but not really. So it's the best thing. I can't grasp the concept of why you'd leave after a year, whatever it may be, and you're fine. There were some situations this year where it was like, should we be doing that or not? But it's definitely an interesting job, and I recommend it to anyone that is looking for a job, although it's not popular and everyone's into the popular thing nowadays. I'm kind of curious though. Now obviously I've got Ryan doesn't push back from expressing his feelings and how he thinks stuff should go in his own mind, and how things operate. Now, that first year when you were there, or second year, whatever it might have been, there was an incident where a counselor, the site supervisor, left a important bag up in Massachusetts on a field trip. In a state away. Now, as the site supervisor, now we didn't have that last year. We had myself as the camp supervisor, which will happen again this year, for better or for worse. Structurally wise speaking, and now myself, I wouldn't do that. I would grab that, and if not, I'd make sure whoever's at the end of the line would grab it, and I'd wait and make sure they grab it. Now, this site supervisor, my eyes, didn't really put in a whole effort a lot of the times. We would often copy off of the other one, and that's not playing favoritism or anything like that. That's just how I see it. And she relied on a counselor who I wouldn't trust with my wallet. And then that counselor, of course, puts it off to a camper who I would definitely not trust with a fucking medical kit with 2 EpiPens in there that helps a kid survive. They leave it there. Then we come back and all hell breaks loose. Now here's you, first, second year counselor, trying to figure out what to do, trying to make sure the kids are doing something while the site supervisor is doing jack shit. And Ryan's over there pretending to be the site supervisor he always wanted but never could get.
Right.
Mindset for yourself during that whole experience that if you were there for that day.
Okay, so we drove up. It was fun. I was just sitting with some kids in the back. A lot of the other counselors were like closer to the front of the bus, just like talking, figuring out what we were going to do, organizing a little bit. I was just sitting with the kids, and then we had a great time. It was really fun. It's kind of hot, but I mean, summer. Yeah. And then we got back on the bus, and like I knew that the med kit was like not my thing. Like I had all of the things I came with. I was like in charge of getting the kids on the bus. Like I was doing my part. And then we left. I want to say we were maybe like 25-ish, 30 minutes away from the place that we had just went to. And they were like, oh my God, we don't have the med kit. And so I was just sitting there like, they're gonna get in trouble. But like that wasn't my responsibility. So like it's kind of weird because everyone was all stressed out. But I was just like trying to keep the kids calm, like have them not really know what was going on, because like they didn't need to know that we misplaced it.
There's definitely kids, and in a situation like that, there are definitely kids who find out, whether they're told or find out because they're children. Kids nowadays are different. But I think I mean, my group didn't go there that field trip because it was just the older kids. But I remember myself and Rob were looking over, and we were doing something, and at that point, I don't know what number it was, but it was a time when both your site supervisor, Miss Christina, and mine, Rachel, were not speaking again and backstabbing, although they're both backstabbing rats to each other. Right. And I remember Rachel would always say something to us and the other way, and 2 different group chats, and it was weird. And Rachel said, uh-oh, they left a medical kit up there. And I was just like, oh boy, but not my problem. So I'll dance on you all like Fortnite. And we walked in, it was the most stressful, like it was the most like, and I mean, I'm a guy who gets nervous often. But it was so like, what's gonna happen? If she's gonna get fired, she should get fired. I mean, she shouldn't have had the job this past year because then I walked down there, and Tracy drives in with their Jeep, and I'm tasked with walking down towards your side and trying to run it because I was assistant camp supervisor, that illusionary job that it was. And I'm like, what's going on here? I have Ryan here struggling to get stuff done. I have Lauren here keeping the kids intact, doing stuff with beads and gimps, which is, she's very good at and stuff. And it's like, none of these kids want to do anything here. And at the after finding out what it was, it's because these kids are doing nothing. That's crazy down here. It's because Christina doesn't do shit with these kids and never did. And I'm like, thank God I'm not with the older kids anymore, because that's eventful. And it's kind of the whole thing I wanted to say is that I give props to yourself for dealing with that for 2 years, because when I was with the older kids the first year, which was my big mistake, they're more intuitive and good to see what's going on. I mean, back then it wasn't as insane as it is nowadays with kids, but it definitely was interesting, and it's definitely like, oh, God, I can't deal with that. I don't know how you did it, especially your first year. I don't know how you made it and came back, because I think definitely some of us who are working here this past summer or the next summer, if they were in that situation when not all of us were all together, they probably would quit halfway through. And I just what was that? I mean, like for you working with the older kids, your first year?
I mean, I liked it. Like, I wish I could actually like have a conversation with some of the older kids, because like a lot of the 6-year-olds are like can't talk or like can't read. So like there's that. But they're also very opinionated, and they know what they want to do and what they don't want to do.
Of course.
So you're trying to do a group activity. Some of the older kids were like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And you're like, well, you have to kind of like figure out how to deal with that. But I feel like having those experiences my first year definitely helped me a lot this past summer, especially like when I was alone. And when there was that fun little 6-year-old that liked to play with sticks and rocks. That was a good time.
That was great. I'm not gonna, for those who are here, and obviously my guest and myself, safety and the HIPAA guidelines and rules, I'm not gonna divulge into specifically, but the child was having a rough day, and we got no real information on what this kid was like outside of it, besides a smidge size information. And he decided to do some architectural redesigning of the field we were at for that week, and kids were left with scars mentally and emotionally, never changed, especially during pandemic. Myself, not surprised by any of it, and my wonderful, lovely guest over here had left with some battle scars from that child, and had an experience she often doesn't want to relive. But it's something like that, where you have a kid who's not 12 or 14 or 13, whatever it might have been, and he's a younger kid, but working with the older kids pre-pandemic helps you in a situation like to stay calm and be like, okay, we're going to take these kids, we're going to move them over here to Jill's group and Kayla's group, and I'm going to let Nolan deal with it, and we're going to do this and be able to stay calm. Because if you're not used to working with someone like that, like I mentioned earlier, if this is your first thing, it's going to be hard to adjust to, and you're not going to leave on a happy note, and it's going to stay with you. But if you have experience, you're going to be able to deal with it. But it's definitely, that was another thing, which this year, with the potential of at least one person, with other two, hopefully as well, there won't be any incidences where you're alone. Because being alone, if there wasn't myself there, I don't know what that would have been like for yourself to just deal with that kid. But it's definitely an experience. But I definitely commend you on the ability to stay the course 2 years with the older kids, on top of not having a proper site supervisor. I'm interested for your perspective. And we briefly talked about this, and I just mentioned this, pandemic and camp and making sure things are set. But for you, what was it like working with these kids, trying to make sure, because this was a year like no other in most of our lives across the country, where we're in a pandemic and we still have camp, obviously different guidelines and stuff, but we still have the main mission and goal to keep these kids occupied in what they're doing. For you, how difficult was that, trying to make sure this camp experience was like any other experience for this child pre-pandemic?
Like before, or
like this past summer. So obviously you want to make it as enjoyable as they can, even though it is a pandemic.
Right. So I thought it was definitely a little more difficult because we had smaller groups. It was harder to like make teams. Like 3v3 isn't as fun as like 25.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty good. I felt like we had a lot of crafts and stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely missed the field trips. I felt like that would have been really nice, but obviously couldn't do it because of the guidelines. But it was nice that we could like be outside and be in like small groups. So like I feel like you really got to know the kids that you were working with. So I thought that was
Yeah.
nice. And then you could like, since there weren't as many kids, you could do like more things that they wanted to do
Yeah.
because there weren't as many people asking. Like you could like
Yeah.
do exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, which is definitely, you know, eventful because you're able to, you know, I mean, obviously kids are there, you know, to have fun, and they're there to escape whatever it may be. And you know, they might not come from the best situations. They might not come from an economically substantial background, or might not get enough attention at home. So your job is to, you know, make sure they're getting loved and appreciated and focused and stuff. So when you're able to do that, they enjoy that and they want to come back and they want more. And it's definitely was challenging because although I'm not one to, you know, plan out like a movie script of what I want to do throughout the weekend, although I didn't have a main group for myself. It definitely was challenging in a sense, you know, when I would come over to help. And although, yeah, it definitely will, it's definitely easy having two people, and, you know, I'll do whatever, you know, the other group is doing. And if there's a situation where they don't have any suggestions and need help with something or want me to come up with something, yeah, I'll definitely do something. But it's definitely challenging even doing that because you're very limited in what you can do. And it's hot and kids are tired already from day one. So it definitely was interesting. I'm glad that these new guidelines are out, and I'm hopefully that they'll stay and that we won't have to revert from the previous ones. But it just goes to show, you know, what Rhode Islanders such as ourselves did to, you know, curve out the impact this pandemic has had on the state. And it's definitely interesting. It gives you a greater perspective of other things that we had prior to camp. But it's definitely good, you know, to have field trips and to be able to use the playground. I mean, there are definitely so many different options you get used with that. I mean, obviously it made camp easier this year, but at the vacation camp, to be able to use the playgrounds finally, because it lets them go there and do whatever they want. You're out there for an hour and a half on the playground, but it's definitely was interesting. Gives you a greater appreciation for what it was like beforehand. Although, you know, I think we still did a commendable job in regards to, you know, making sure they're having the best time in their lives. Although it was still annoying when parents were like, oh, you didn't do this or that. And it's like, this is a fucking pandemic. We're trying our best to cancel. Shut the fuck up and let us do our job.
Like you do it, fine.
Yeah.
You do
it. Yeah. So we discussed the Mason Martin's issue briefly, but we're not gonna going over that. What I want to talk about next is something I'm very curious to find out. Now, with this job, there are other people who work here or have worked here, and they have told their friends or invited their friends and said, hey, I recommend you should do this. It's a good one. I recommend it. This to my or because friends told them to, or whatever it may be. And there was Rob was here, and then obviously he left, so no more. Although me and Ryan are close friends, or friends, we're not as close as Ryan and Rob are. But you, my dear friend, have a dear who have a I don't want to say dear because I don't know, but a good friend who works at the camp, and I'm guessing you recommend it to her. And I'm curious on how that came about and why you recommended this job of all jobs to her, and what it's been like working with her.
Well, like she knew that I worked at this job like the summer before, and I told her how much I liked it. Like every time we would hang out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I get to play dodgeball with 10-year-olds. Like it's a great time. But then like she was like washing dishes, bussing tables. She was like, oh, maybe I want to try something different. And I was like, okay, cool. And then she just looked it up and like signed up, and she was like, hey, like I applied for the job, and I like didn't really know she was going to. Like I knew she thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't realize she wanted to like try it herself. And then she kind of like, she has younger siblings. So like she's around kids a lot more than me because I'm the youngest. So like I feel like that was a little bit different. She kind of got more annoyed with the kids, and like she just was around them so much that it was a little much. And then she would say like, oh, this job is so frustrating, it's so long, it's so hot, but she wants to come back. So like, I mean, like I feel like she's a good person to work with, but it's also like if she doesn't have fun doing the job, I feel like she shouldn't do it. Like it's not for everyone, but for me personally, I like it.
And I have to agree with that sentiment in the terms of, you know, being a camp supervisor. And it's like you've said, I've probably mentioned 1,000 times so far, or since we've known each other, you know, this job isn't for everyone. It's definitely an acquired taste. And if like I've said before, you know, you're either going to sink or swim in this. And it's just a summer job. So, you know, there's no need to make it as serious as I'm trying to make it, but it requires work and effort. And if you're not willing to do it, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting my time, your time, and everyone else's time there. And the kids aren't going to enjoy you because you're not doing anything for them positively, and it sucks. But I think that when you're going into it and you're continuing just to have a bad attitude about it, nothing's going to come out of it. And then it's going to reflect on your job. And then I have to come over, and I enjoy working with anyone. If you're in charge of the group, I'll do whatever you want. I'm here all ears. I'll help do whatever it may be, but I'm not here to carry the group, and I'm not here to carry the person working there. No problem. I enjoy people I work with a great deal. I mean, certainly at times can be frustrating. I think people sometimes can be frustrating a lot, but I'm not doing this to carry you. I don't have all the options to do whatever it may be. So I'm expecting you to do what it is. So when we're planning something out or you're planning something out, take the initiative outside of work or during it to write some stuff down to do. And I think to just, be bored or, not put your foot down and say this stuff and then be like, oh, I don't like this stuff. It's ridiculous, because if you're doing a fine job and you're having them do something, that's great. You should come back. But we expect a lot. And if you're not doing it, then it's not going to work out. And to expect something when it's not going to happen is sad. And I think that there were kids who definitely enjoyed our dear coworker, Miss Bella. I think, though, like anything else, you have to make an impression right away with these kids. And if you don't, they're not going to know you. They're not going to know who you are. And you ask, oh, what counselor do you like? And you're not saying, they're not going to say you. It definitely is. Is hurtful, but it is what it is. And but it's definitely. I mean, we'll see how this goes. Hopefully, it's a little better than last year. Although last year was the pandemic, so what do you expect? But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, the bumps that were caused this past year between not myself or anyone else there, but the upper staff that worked at the guild are smoothed out and not repeated this year. But I have all the confidence in the world in everyone who works there, and I trust them with my life and their life. So it's definitely and it's also interesting because it can be hard working with friends or close friends, because a situation like myself and being the site supervisor and knowing Ryan as long as I've known him, I'm sure someone like himself who's older and myself who's younger than him, and me being the supervisor job, I'm sure it's not easy taking orders, although I'm not someone who's like, oh, do this and do that, but taking orders or having to run things by someone who's younger than you is definitely hard. And I'm sure for yourself, I'm sure there are times when maybe you worked with her like one together, or as a group or by yourself, and you might have gotten frustrated or didn't agree with what it was. And it can be hard having to put your foot down and say, hey, can you do this, please? Can you do that? I'm trying my best here. Can you help me out here? And when it can be hard doing that, can cause tension within a friendship. And it is what it is. But no, I'm looking forward to this year. I'm looking forward to hopefully all three people are hired. I wasn't the one who pried it out both times, but our dear friend Miss Jill and Caleb pried out the other two people's names from the Grandmaster himself.
Ooh.
I'm not going to share it on camera because I know with the millions of people who tuned into the show each week, they're definitely going to be doing it all over Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok and stuff.
For sure.
But no, it is interesting. But I think it's going to be a good year this year. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be interesting. Although, sure, field trip's going to suck eggs, but it is what it is. Favorite what yeah, well, the beach is going to happen, and that's what I said with our dear friend Miss Bella. I said, I had to do it many times, and even to my third and fourth year, I still had to go into the water. So, and I said, listen, I don't care who you are. I don't care how we ended last year. I don't care about the lack of communication or me having to hold the group, but you're going in the water whether you like it or not. Okay, I'm not doing anymore. And she's like, well, not if I'm on my period or anything like that. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if you're yellow, white, orange, green, black, purple, blue. I don't care if seashells are coming out of your rear end. You're going in the water. And I can bring up examples. Mr. Rao, God bless him soul, I love him so much, but he swallowed so much salty seawater that I couldn't even guess how many gallons it was. It's eventful going in there all day, and then it gets cold, but
you have to earn your spot. Once you do it a few years, then the new people who come in, you get to make them do it, just like you had to do it.
Yes.
Like it
is what it is. And it's definitely interesting, but I think that I think compared though, and I made this preface to other people, I think in the years I have done this show, I feel as though the last, obviously this past year, so we're much closer, but the last few years, it definitely was, I think, more of a group together, more cohesive and together. I mean, Applebee's and the Flyers put together and all the other small events that some of the staff has thrown for the group.
Right.
And I feel as though we're more together. So I think it is a healthier environment compared to when you started, when I started, where I think there were definitely people who were more closer to others than they were to together. So we'll see how this summer goes. I'm still gonna try my best to give some of the bad situations to the new blood, but we'll see how that goes. Who knows? We may not get the that proposal through. The last few things I ask you: favorite week that favorite week or year you've had on the job that you've had being employed by the town, if you can think of one. Is there a favorite memory that you have so far?
I loved going to laser tag my first year and playing laser tag with all the kids. I just thought it was so fun.
Yeah.
It's such a great time.
Oh yeah.
Plus you also get paid to sit on a bus when you drive up.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Which is the best. I mean, now that, not back then, it was more strict, and, Kaylee and Tracy and all those people really being a hard ass about certain stuff, and not being able to do stuff. But I think now, hopefully, if they get back to Vinny, I don't know if they will, field trip people, it'll be a little easier, not as stressful, because I remember, on the bus, you gotta sit near the front on the outside of kids. You can't be in the back. You can't be laying down. You can't be on your phone and stuff. And it's definitely been interesting. I have to agree with you on the laser tag, which was fun because you're in the dark and none of the people above you are there. None of the supervisors or other boss people are there. So it's definitely fun. I think roller skating was fun back, when we could. I think definitely going to the zoo and stuff like that. But no, those are the fun things which you hope can happen during there. I think, but I'm trying to think of, I don't have any huge big time things that I look back on. I mean, obviously working with Rob and so on and so forth. And I think definitely this year it gives me a greater appreciation of stuff. And I think obviously, working, and this isn't, the plug anybody or suck up, but I think definitely to be able to count on staff members such as yourself working together with them and, being able to, not have to worry about, hey, am I gonna have to carry the group? Am I gonna have to carry the load and put everyone on my back and having to do this myself? And for someone to actually have a plan like yourself last year and to be able to say, oh, this is what we're gonna do then. Oh, hey, how about this? Do you want to do this later? Or how about this? Or can we switch this out with that? It was definitely something that was a little de-stressing going at the job, because there are definitely a lot of times, especially with parents, that were interesting. But I'll leave it at that. That's all I want to say about that. Miss Lauren, I want to thank you. It's almost been an hour almost on here, taking an hour out of your precious time. I want to thank you again for doing this. It means a lot. And although this isn't a humongous production I'm putting together, it means a lot that someone like yourself, although we work together, it means a lot that you take the time out and jump up at the situation to do it. I was going to have someone else on here with you that we've talked about, but I don't know, my capability of trusting someone to be there and count on them wasn't too high. So I said, you know what? I'm just doing it with Miss Lauren, the other person I've only worked with the longest. And I say this with all sincerity. And I said this in that letter I wrote to everyone, especially yourself, on the 5th anniversary of me working for the town. It's been a joy and a pleasure, and it always is. And it brings a bright part to my day when we cross paths at work, and only you ask how my day is going. I don't always reciprocate the thing. I remember once I didn't do it and I ignored it, and you weren't a fan of that one year at Tuckertown. But it's been fun, and I appreciate you have thick skin, which is needed for this job and in life, and I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this summer. I don't know if you're working the back to school night for camp the 30th on Friday. I
think I might be.
I know Vinny said he only needed 3 people, and I had contact, so right. I don't know who else it was, but if it's not, then we keep in contact quite a bit, so which I'm also glad about. So that's what it is. I'll leave you that. I'll let you get on to your busy life. You've got more important things to do than hang around this show. So I thank you. And for all those, before I end, I want to give my little thing. It's cring, but I have to do it. If you liked what you if you liked what you watched and listened to, boys and girls, will be on the audio or visual platforms of your choice. Do myself and Lauren a huge favor, because she's she always says this, that, I hope people subscribe to this stuff. So please do us a favor, do myself, because I'm the only motherfucker doing this here with me. I do as best I can. So subscribe, follow, like, click that bell button so you're notified so you can see my great smug of a face and many other guests on this show. Share it. That helps because it shows growth and helps grow this. So one day I can have big time stars on this show. And then when this is all over years from now, whenever that may be, you can say, man, that one of those first few episodes of season 2, number 7, with Lauren, that was a pretty great episode. And I love the classic stuff. Later on, I got a little bit more cheesier, but the hard, raw footage of this stuff was great. So follow the podcast, subscribe to it, follow the social media. I'm not up to date all the time on Twitter on a consistent basis, but the Instagram, ITM Studios Official, good name. Then Real ITM Studios on Twitter. It's capital R, lowercase EA, capital L, ITM Studios, and post on there. There's on Spotify, YouTube, main thing. Then there's SoundCloud and all the other great shit. But with that being said, I'll see you next week with the quote from the dear man himself, the legend, the role model, Johnny Carson. I wish you all a heartfelt good night. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, stay memeing and scheming.